Okay, I've removed the tire. Now show the bolts to take off instead of taking the whole caliper off. You can take 2 bolts off and move the whole assembly off to the side. Right here is 1 bolt, and down here's the other bolt. Take them off, then this whole assembly comes off. That way you can take the rotor off. Then you come in behind here, and there's 4 bolts. 1 here, 1 down there, 1 on the other side. Here and down there. And that will let your bearing assembly come out. First of all, we got to take this big bolt off. And if you have an air compressor and you bought, I think, an 1 1/8" socket, that isn't too hard. And by the way, I'm doing this on a 2013 Chrysler. I think 2011 through 2014 about the same. Maybe others. Maybe my Sebring was, my 03 Sebring was the same. But let's get to this, loosen this brake pad up. Get in there. Come on. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Oh, she's coming. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Oh, she's coming. There we go. Now we just gently move it back and forth. Just like that. Add slight pressure. See how that moves away? Nice. Perfect. Marvelous. There. Now we got the caliper in. So this assembly will just come right off, lickety split. When you're about to take this bolt off, it never hurts to take some wire brush or a wheel and clean them nasty threads off. They are rusty, little rusty. See, all nice and clean. Now, take my trusty 32mm socket that I bought with my air gun and see what happens. And that's the way it is. Now our axle is loose. Pull this off. Ah! Leave some skin behind. And there you got it. Your axle bolts. This is the other side, and again, we need some light. There's the bolts. Gotta take off. And get that dirty looking nasty thing off there. So I decided to skip taking out the anti-brake electronic there. This jigamadog that I can't think of the name of. But we got the bearing all unbolted. But as you can see, them bolts don't want to come out. But since we got this big bolt out here, we can push that out like that to get them bolts out. So let's go ahead and do that. Here's one. To loosen it up all the way. There's 2. 2 in the back. Oh, we got that one. And the one Honda down to there. Let's see if I can do this. There. So now we're all ready to beat the shit out of this thing. Because make sure you have your car in neutral, because you want, sometimes it helps turn this and beat on it. Because we don't need to have that shaft come out anymore, because we're going to slide it right back in when we put the new bearing on. So I got to go put my car in neutral. Put all my bolts in one nest. It's perfect right there. And this is the second set. For those of you that says Chrysler stinks, or my Honda's better, or my Toyota's better, I like the rice burners. I like all vehicles. I'm a car guy. But this baby has got 280,000 miles on it. So the second set of front wheel hub bearings is pretty darn good. Let's get her done. So I've beaten on it a couple times only, and it's starting to loosen up. Because two reasons. One, I used a lot of anti-seize when I put this in. Number two, you get something big enough to do the job. So let's see what we can do here. It's a coming. She be coming around. Hey! Oops, did I get off camera? I don't, hope not. Pretty sure we got it. Yep, there you go. Just do a little wiggle. And Daddy comes home. And there we are, the old one. And right here in this area here, I put lots and lots and lots of anti-seize, just for that reason. Now, when I do the other side, it'll probably be harder because that's the driver's side. I always get the salt, but that's the whole thing. And just reverse it all to get her. I better not say get her done. I think that might be an infringing right. To put it back together correctly. And when you bolt this bolt on here, check your owner's manual, check your bearing, whatever you have to check. So I don't want you to take my word for it, because I don't want your car to fall apart because you didn't do it right, because this is my second set and them didn't fall off. So if I remember properly, this is supposed to be torqued down to 110 pounds. I torque them down to 100 because if you over torque them, you will burn the bearing out. Because what you're doing right here is you're squeezing it too tight. So you can go by whatever you want to go by, but make sure it's tight, not over tight. Go by directions that you find, or whatever feels good to you. Hope that helped. Take care. One more thing I would like to add. I'm not a professional, so do this all at your own risk. I just work on my own car to keep my cars running. And I wanted to tell you, when you took that caliper off, we loosen up the pad so we get it back on easy. Make sure when you put all that back on, you pump your brakes. That way, when you go down the driveway, you ain't gonna keep going. You'll be able to stop. Because if you don't pump your brakes, you won't put them pads tight to your rotor. And I thought I'd give you a shot at my new bearing on there, hub bearing. There it is. I don't have it tightened down. I put the bolts in the back, pushed that back like that, put the bolts in there. Where we at? Put them in there, snugged them all down with a 15mm wrench. Now I'm gonna tighten them as snug as I can without stripping them, because I might have to take them back off. Alright, now that you know all that, thank you. Remember to take the big bolt off first, because when you go to unbolt your bearing, where's the camera at? Oh, you always look at the wrong spot. When you unbolt this, the drive shaft you can push it in, and it makes it much easier to get to the little bolts. Another thing I might want to add too is if you think you have a bad wheel bearing, if you jack up your car and wiggle the wheel and it wiggles, chances are your bearing's bad, as long as you have good ball joints. Now, if you're going down the road and you think you have a bad tire because it's going, yeah, then you have a bad ball joint more than likely. Not ball joint. A bad hub bearing. What's with a ball joint? If it sounds like this, it's bad. Listen. Can you hear this? A bearing noise to it. That's bad. They don't usually fall apart. I've never seen one fall apart. I've seen them get real noisy before they fell apart. But them are the things you can look for to make sure if you have a bad wheel bearing or not.